So we have just started our Torah reading cycle again. We have begun a new year, and with it, the reading of Torah begins again. Many of you were here dancing up and down like crazy people. If you think that we dance a lot at Nefesh, Simchat Torah, let me tell you, was amazing. And if you're like, oh, note to self, come next year on Simchat Torah. Yes, note to yourself. It was full of joy as we danced and celebrated Torah and then unscrolled and started reading the very end. We finished the very end of Torah, the very end of Devarim, and then quickly literally ran around the big unscrolled Torah and began again with Breshit. So we are in beginnings, the creation, Breshit. And quickly, the next Parsha, these are the parts that lots of people know, right? The first one, in the beginning, and there was light, and there was 7 days, and there was Shabbat. That was the first Parsha. And then this is Noah, or as he's also known of, Noah. Except you would miss the and that's like the best part. So Noah is this week. And pretty clear story that is really well known, right? He gets told to build an ark. He builds the ark. The arky brings the animals by twosies. And rise and shine and give God your glory, right? We know the story of Noah and this ark. We know the story of Noah and this ark. And yet, in our tradition, you might not be surprised to learn that our rabbis and commentators actually find Noah to be a rather complex character. Noah has multitudes. Even from that very first verse of our Parsha, the very first verse, already we're diving into layers of Noah. Ela toldot Noah. These are the generations of Noah. Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya b'dorotav. Right? Clear. Noah was a tzaddik, a righteous man. Tamim. I'm going to wait to define that later, but it could be flawless. It could be whole. And Noah, flawless or whole, with integrity amongst his generation. And Noah walked with God. That is a lot of praise. Righteous of his generation, walked with God. And right away, our commentators say, yes, this is a beautiful thing to be talked about this way. And we get pointed towards the Psalms that say, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, that we remember a righteous person for blessing. So we want to remember Noah for blessing. But then, even in this first commentary by Rashi, there's a pivot. Well, some of our rabbis say he was righteous in his generation. That's amazing. But it could be also that his generation wasn't so great. So he was like a righteous amongst ones that weren't the best. You know, they were about to be eliminated. How righteous was he? And this comparison continues. He was righteous of his generation, and then it goes to, but had he lived in a different generation, the generation of Abraham, maybe he wouldn't have been so important. And this extended comparison about Abraham and Noah continues. In Breshit Rabbah, it's a Midrash collection, and we're told, yes, Noah walked with God. Yes, that's true. But Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nehemiah and Rabbi Yehuda again said, this is analogous to a prince who has 2 sons, a gadol, an older son, a katan, a younger one. And he says to the younger one, walk with me, and to the elder, come walk before me. So too, it would have been with Abraham would we be walking in front, and Noah would be walking with God. So to say Noah walked with God is like a friend of the king who was sinking into thick mud. And the king looked and saw him and said, rather than sink in the mud, I'll pull you up and you can walk along with me. That's what Noah walked with God means. That's a different take. That's you needed some help, so you're going to walk with me, but had you been Abraham, you would walk in front of me. Why this wrestling with Noah? He's asked to do something, build the boat, and he doesn't. And yet the question is questions of Noah's faith. You would think it was pretty direct. I was asked to do something and I did it. And I was probably looking pretty far out amongst the people I was living with, telling everybody, you shouldn't probably be doing all you're doing because I have to build this boat and I got to take everybody. It's going to be bad. You can imagine that would be a difficult thing to do. And yet there's this questioning of Noah's faith. We're told in another midrash that even on the boat, Noah was praying continuously to be freed from prison. Yet another drawing from the Psalms, may I be freed from prison that I may praise your name. Why are you praying so much? Are you not sure of the covenant and the promise that God made with you? Why the wrestling, Noah? Why all the doubt? So here we have Noah willing to comply and yet struggling with it. And there's questions about him. And speaking of immediately building the boat, why did he do that? Where was the moment in which Noah said, build a boat because you're going to destroy everybody? That doesn't seem right. And there's another tradition that says there's a development in the character from Noah to Abraham to Moses. That maybe Noah being told, build a boat, great, give me the dimensions, here I go, is not the kind of faith we're looking for. Maybe what we're looking for is Abraham saying, don't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. What if there's some righteous people there? Speaking up to God. And then Moses saying over and over, don't destroy the people. And so far as going, if you're going to take the people, you're going to have to take me out too. That there's a development in the characters. That Noah began, but his faith didn't hold defiance and speaking up and wrestling with what's true and right and what it means. Pulls on Noah, faith and doubt, speaking up and compliance, following and leading. Pulls on this human who is in such a crisis moment to be told that everything was going to be destroyed. Noah is about doing. That part we know, right? He built and he built. And he gathered and he gathered. And he got on that boat where apparently he did a lot of praying. And then after that experience, there was some wine to be drunk. And that might also be a part of the view of Noah. But one thing we know is that he did a lot of building. And that's such an interesting idea too, yet another pull, because inside of Noah's name is related to the word menucha, for rest. Noah, menucha, and menucha is the offering that we give on Shabbat. A special kind of rest, a deep, profound rest. He has been in one of the most important building projects ever, and his name contains soulful rest. The Sfas Emes talks about Noah being the kind of confident rest, embodying the clarity of rest, knowing that doing comes from resting, not the other way around. That Shabbat generates the week rather than the week ending with a collapse. Doing and resting is alive in Noah. a pull towards doing, a pull towards resting. There are so many pulls inside of Noah, and there are so many pulls inside of all of us. And there are so many pulls inside of this society right now. You may be tracking that it's a big week ahead. This is what it is to be alive, to be inside of the continuous pulls. Here we think it's a simple character. He gets told to do something. He does it. Yeah. No, our tradition says, so much more complicated than that. What were all the different things going on inside of Noah? This is what it is to be at the center of Jewish spiritual practice. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who began the Musar movement that, as you know, is a big part of our Nefesh community, said, as long as one lives a life of calmness and tranquility in the service of God, it is clear that he is removed from true service. As long as someone is living a life of calmness and tranquility, it is clear that he is living removed, remote, away from true service. Avodah, worship, service, the service of our lives. That is a different view of spirituality. It is not separate, away, monastic, unchanging, not affected by the world. That is not who we are. We are living inside of the pulls in all direction all the time. That's what it is to be in the depths of spiritual practice, in the depths of our ancient tradition, is that we are pulled. We are here in life as it is, with all of its complexity, with all of its many opportunities to practice how we want to act and speak and love and create and not act and not speak. All of our practices in our daily ways. All of the midot, our deepest values as we talk about, they're in this measurement. And I was thinking about this week, we think, well, maybe one side is better. Maybe. But let's think like curiosity. It's wonderful to be curious and open to the world. But when might our curiosity be too much? Like, do you really need to know that about that person? And is your curiosity leading you to gossip? Even in things that we think are, oh, this is great all the time. Not all the time. We are inside the poles. There would be no such thing as ethics if everything was clear. There would be no need for it. But that's not where ethics live. Ethics live inside the poles of the multiple choices, of the many ways. So if you are feeling pulled in all these directions, mazel tov. You are in the center of what it is. And thank God you're given these beautiful daily practices. Relationship, in deep relationships with each other, in deep relationships with me. There are places that we get to practice all the time, to be in our wholeness as it is unfolding. Recently, a local politician was caught on video saying something that she said was out of context and upsetting to some. And it is hard that everything you do is being recorded all the time, right? And under a microscope. You might know a little bit about that. That's hard. And in this context, even though she said it was taken out of context, sure it was, she got stuck in needing to insist on that. In the pull between her intent. Between the intent and the impact. so it's an opportunity. I'm sorry that this happened in this way. Wasn't what I intended, but here's what happened, and I see there's an impact I didn't expect. Oh, isn't that true with each other? When we get caught in the pull of wanting to say, but that's not what I meant. I mean, you're saying something, but that's not what I meant. You heard me say something really different, and that's not what I meant. But can we feel that pull and also be willing to go to the, oh, I see. Yes, this is what I meant, but this is what you experienced. Oh, is there a place for me to open both pulls without trying to smash one of them away? Stop feeling what you're feeling. Which, by the way, will never work. You can say, the rabbi told me, stop feeling what you're feeling. It's never going to be an answer. And we do grow. It's not that we don't grow inside of the pulls. We very much grow. In fact, it's being present with all of the pulls intentionally and on purpose and with each other. That is how we do grow. Maybe sometimes it feels like we're not growing, but we are growing. Tamim, I told you at the very beginning, right? That Noah was called that. And in some places it's translated as flawless, without blemish, especially when we're talking about animals for sacrifice, without blemish, flawless. Perfection even, which can drive me a little crazy when it gets translated that way, because tamim, the state, is also wholeness, entire, having integrity and wholeness. I have one last thing I want to share, which was this incredible experience this week of getting to experience, witness, be part of someone in the state of tamim. She had reached out to come talk to me. She was in a place of grief. Her mother has died 5 months ago, and there were some things she wanted to ask me about practice and different things she wanted to hear and learn and share. And inside of the sharing, she talked about she's in grief groups and the rituals she's doing, and so conscious of how she is present in her grief. And as she talked, it was right at that moment where she was overwhelmed by a wave of grief and stopped talking and said, there it is. I'm just going to feel it. Present with it as it unfolded. Even as she was talking about it in the abstract, here it was, all moving through her. And she took the moment to breathe and to be with it. She slowed down and she let it move it through her. It was such an honor to witness this wholeness, this integrity of it coming through her, and her practice of presence, of the pull, of stillness, and of motion. As she continued to say, let's continue. There's more I did want to talk about. This is a big week ahead, likely many weeks ahead. This is a time to be immersed deeply in our consciousness and our practice, to be aware of the pulls and to be awake inside of them. How will you be in rest and in motion? How will you hold the right now and the future we all want to build, that we know is possible? How do we sit and be and move with the wholeness and integrity of ourselves, of each other, of community, of our society? May we lean into the teachings of our ancient tradition that celebrate the complexity of these unfolding times. May we lean into each moment and into this beautiful world that is always unfolding, unfolding and unfolding and unfolding, one step at a time. Shabbat Shalom.
this moment be enough as the waves crash over us, one step at a time, one step out of time, one step at a time through the dark night. So much in this world is out of our control.